Have you ever walked into a room with a purpose? Like you're on a mission, and then the second you step through that doorway, your brain just deletes the file. You're standing there looking around like an absolute fool, trying to remember what you came for. Was it your phone? Your keys? A snack? Who knows? Your brain certainly doesn't. And here's the kicker. You walk back to where you came from, and suddenly, boom, you remember. It's like your brain was just messing with you the whole time. If this sounds familiar, congratulations. You're not losing your mind. You're not getting old. You're just human. And there's actually a scientific reason why this happens. In fact, it happens to pretty much everyone, and it's way more fascinating than you might think. Today, we're diving into the psychology and neuroscience behind why you always forget why you walked into a room. We're talking about something called the doorway effect, how your memory actually works, and why your brain treats doorways like some kind of reset button. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand your own brain a whole lot better. And you might even pick up some tricks to stop this from happening so often. Let's set the scene. You're sitting on the couch watching TV, totally relaxed. Then you remember you need to grab your phone charger from the bedroom. Simple enough, right? You get up, walk through the hallway, step into the bedroom, and then nothing. Blank. Complete mental void. You stand there scanning the room like you're a detective at a crime scene. What did I come in here for? Was it something important? Did I need clothes? Did I need to check something? And the more you try to force it, the more your brain just shrugs at you like, I don't know, man, you tell me. So you give up. You walk back to the living room, sit down on the couch, and literally, the moment your butt hits the cushion, bam. Phone charger. That's what you needed, of course. How could you forget? And now you have to do the walk of shame all over again, hoping this time your brain decides to cooperate. Sound familiar? Yeah, we've all been there. And if you think this only happens to you, trust MIT doesn't. This is one of the most common memory quirks that humans experience. It's so universal that scientists actually have a name for it. Now, before we get into the science, and trust me, it's really cool, I want to mention something. If you're the kind of person who's curious about how your brain works, why you forget things, and how you can actually use that knowledge to improve your memory and focus, we've put together an ebook that goes way deeper into all of this. It's packed with insights, practical tips, and explanations that'll honestly make your brain work better. You can download it for free in the description below. Seriously, if you're enjoying this video, you'll love the ebook. Alright, back to why your brain keeps sabotaging you. So, here's the deal. The phenomenon we're talking about is officially called the doorway effect, and it's been studied by psychologists and neuroscientists for years. The basic idea is this. Walking through a doorway or transitioning between environments can cause your brain to compartmentalize information, essentially creating a mental boundary. And when you cross that boundary, your brain sometimes hits the refresh button on your short-term memory. Let me explain how this works. Your brain is constantly managing a ton of information. Right now, as you're watching this video, your brain is processing what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Maybe you're also thinking about what you need to do later today, or you're noticing that your leg is falling asleep. Your brain is juggling all of this at once. To deal with all this information, your brain uses something called working memory. Working memory is like your brain's scratch pad. It's where you hold information temporarily while you're using it. It's got a limited capacity. Think of it like RAM in a computer. You can only hold so much at once. Now, here's where it gets interesting. When you move from one environment to another, like from the living room to the bedroom, your brain interprets that as a change in context. And your brain loves context. Context helps your brain organize memories, prioritize information, and decide what's important. So when you walk through a doorway, your brain essentially files away the information from the previous room into a mental folder labeled living room stuff, and gets ready to open a new folder labeled bedroom stuff. The problem, sometimes, in that transition, the thing you were just thinking about, the reason you walked into the room, gets filed away too. And now you can't access it because your brain thinks it belongs to the old context. This is the doorway effect in action. It's not that you're forgetful. It's that your brain is trying to be efficient by organizing information based on physical and mental boundaries. Unfortunately, that efficiency sometimes backfires. Alright, let's dig a little deeper into the neuroscience here, because it's genuinely fascinating. Researchers have done experiments to test the doorway effect, and the results are pretty clear. One of the most famous studies was done by researchers at the University of Notre Dame. They had people perform tasks in a virtual environment. Basically, a video game where participants had to pick up objects and carry them to different rooms. Sometimes they'd walk through doorways, and sometimes they'd travel the same distance, but stay in the same room. What they found was that people were significantly more likely to forget what object they were carrying when they passed through a doorway, compared to when they just walked the same distance within a single room. The doorway itself was the trigger. It wasn't about time or distance, it was about the transition between spaces. This happens because of how your brain encodes and retrieves memories. Memories aren't stored in one single place in your brain. Instead, they're distributed across different regions, and they're often linked to context where you were, what you were doing, how you were feeling. This is called context-dependent memory. When you're in one room, your brain builds a mental model of that environment. That model includes not just what the room looks like, but also what you're thinking about, what your goals are, and what's relevant in that moment. When you leave the room and enter a new space, your brain builds a new mental model, and sometimes the thing you were thinking about in the old model doesn't automatically transfer to the new one. This is also related to something called event segmentation theory. Your brain doesn't experience life as one continuous stream. Instead, it breaks things up into events like chapters in a book. Doorways, transitions, and changes in environment signal to your brain that one event is ending and a new one is beginning. And when a new event starts, your brain clears the deck to make room for new information. So when you walk into a room and forget why you're there, your brain has literally started a new chapter, and it left the previous chapter's details behind. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why does this feel like it happens to me all the time? Is my brain broken? Nope, your brain is working exactly as designed. The thing is, we walk through doorways constantly. We move between rooms, between floors, in and out of buildings all day long. Every single one of those transitions is an opportunity for the doorway effect to kick in. Plus, the doorway effect is more likely to happen when you're distracted, when you're multitasking, or when you're not fully focused on what you're doing. And let's be honest, how often are you walking into a room with complete undivided attention on your task? Probably not that often. You're probably thinking about 3 other things, or you're on autopilot. And here's another thing. The doorway effect is stronger when the task you're trying to remember is kind of trivial or low priority. If you're walking into a room to grab your wallet because you're about to leave for an important meeting, your brain is more likely to hold on to that information because it's flagged as important. But if you're just wandering into the kitchen to get a glass of water, your brain's like not urgent, I'll just forget that. This is also why retracing your steps works so well. When you go back to the original room, you're re-entering the context where the memory was formed. Your brain reopens that old mental model, and suddenly the memory comes flooding back. It's like you're loading a previous save file in a video game. All right, so now that we know why this happens, the big question is, can we do anything about it? Can we outsmart our own brains? The answer is, kind of. You can't completely eliminate the doorway effect because it's a fundamental part of how your brain organizes information, but you can definitely reduce how often it happens. Here are some science-backed strategies. Number 1, say it out loud. Before you walk into the next room, verbally remind yourself what you're doing. Say, I'm going to the bedroom to get my phone charger. It sounds silly, but it works. Speaking engages different parts of your brain and reinforces the memory, making it less likely to disappear when you cross the threshold. Number 2, visualize the task. Picture yourself in the next room, doing the thing you need to do. Imagine picking up the object or completing the action. Visualization strengthens the memory and keeps it active in your working memory as you move. Number 3, stay focused. The doorway effect is stronger when you're distracted or multitasking. If you're scrolling through your phone while walking into a room, your brain is already juggling too much. Put the phone down, focus on the task, and you're way less likely to forget. Number 4, use reminders or write it down. If you know you're prone to forgetting, just jot down a quick note or set a reminder on your phone. No shame in that. Your brain doesn't have to remember everything. And number 5, retrace your steps. If you do forget, don't just stand there trying to force it. Go back to where you were. Re-enter the context. Let your brain reload that mental model. It almost always works. So, to wrap this all up, the reason you always forget why you walked into a room comes down to something called the doorway effect. Your brain treats doorways and transitions as mental boundaries. When you cross one, your brain compartmentalizes the information from the previous space and starts fresh in the new one. Sometimes, that means the thing you were just thinking about gets filed away and becomes temporarily inaccessible. It's not a flaw, it's your brain trying to be efficient. It's organizing information, managing context, and keeping things streamlined. Unfortunately, that efficiency occasionally leaves you standing in the kitchen, wondering what on earth you came in there for. But now you know why it happens, and you know some tricks to reduce it. So the next time you forget, you can just smile, retrace your steps, and think, ah yes, the doorway effect strikes again. Before you go, here's a question to leave you thinking. If your brain organizes memory based on context and environment, what does that say about how we experience life itself? Are we really living one continuous experience? Or is our life just a series of disconnected events that our brain stitches together into a story? Anyway, thanks for watching. If you found this interesting, go check out that ebook in the description. It's full of more insights like this. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious.